I know you're not on that committee anymore, but, I mean, you know the stunt. Hunter Biden comes, in, he sits down, he makes a big scene, he leaves. Now, if I was his attorney, I never would have let that happen, but he is rubbing America's nose in it. Look, I'm untouchable. I'm Hunter Biden. My daddy's president. You can't do a thing to me. That's my takeaway. I think it looks absolutely awful. I think it's a terrible move legally and for public relations matters. How do you see it?
Yeah, he's the clown of the Democratic circus, and they paraded him in for his little time and his little show, and then off he goes. I'm with you. As being a lawyer who's prosecuted cases, I don't understand the showboating. I don't understand the in-your-face showing the Republicans that, hey, here I am, but I'm not willing to come and sit down at your deposition. And there's a game here that's being played by the Democrats because they want mainstream media to perpetrate this fraud that, oh, he's willing to come and speak in the hearing before the American people. But that's in those hearings, each member only gets 5 minutes. Staff doesn't get to ask a series and a litany of questions. It's not a deposition, it's a public hearing. And so they don't want him to have to go to a deposition where he may sit for 8 or 10 hours, and you can walk through certain scenarios like, hey, you and Tony Bobulinski did business together, and spend an hour on that, and spend an hour on Ukraine, and spend an hour on all these different issues, and really get into serious questions using documents to preface some of those questions, creating an evidentiary record. They don't want that, but they want to make it look like to the American people, oh, we're not adverse to testifying, because he knows how to play that game. They'll come into the hearing, they'll slow walk all of their responses, they'll make it all political, and he won't have to answer tough questions over a period of time over the real crux of all these Biden investigations that are pending before we get into the impeachment stuff.
Well, and that's exactly what you just laid out is incredibly important for more Americans to understand, which is there is a process here. And by the way, it's the same process that everybody goes through, that Donald Trump Jr. went through, that Eric Trump went through. And that is you go behind closed doors for a deposition under oath, where you can have a series of questions. It's not 5 minutes. Right. He came in more than once. That's exactly right. So there's a process here. And this idea that, well, he'll show up for a public hearing, that's nothing more than filibustering and political speeches and no real questions. The Democrats get to lather him in praise and all of this nonsense and paint him as the victim, which he, of course, is not. Interesting to note, Congressman, he did show up at the hearing yesterday with a camera crew in tow because they're making a movie about Hunter and what a poor victim he is. It's all galling to me.